Good morning, everyone. Good morning, right? Good morning. Good morning. Okay, good. That little introduction doesn't really explain kind of my background. I had the opportunity to work for a Fortune 50 company, highly respected in the technology world. And what I did is I was able to take a look at the workforce and find out where the problems were in the workforce. And we were working a lot with engineers at the time. And so, okay. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Thank you.
What building is it?
Okay, good. So if you could please, oh, there we go. Thank you. Okay, so what I did is I took a look at the workforce and I said, even though this is a well-respected company, it's really not different than many other companies out there in terms of a lack of diversity. The Mesa Engineering Program is part of a statewide system. There are 12 other universities that have Mesa Engineering programs. Mesa stands for Mathematics, Engineering, Science Achievement. The program is 44 years old in California, and the mission is to get more educationally disadvantaged students into the STEM professions. And it starts all the way from elementary school all the way up through the university level. At the university level, the mission becomes to recruit, retain, professionally develop, and graduate students in engineering and computer science, and in this university, construction management as well. And so that's the role of the Mesa Engineering Program here. And I'll talk a little bit about the professional development component, which we added to the mission, unlike maybe other MEPs out there. So there are a lot of Mesa students out there, and so we're working with about 450 of those students here at this university. It's probably the second largest in the state of California. So it's a really big program, and we have probably one of the smallest staffs. So how do we do that? Well, one of the benefits of a mentor program is that the professional mentors that we recruit for the program actually serve as the eyes and ears of our staff. That's an extension of our staff. And so let me just point out a couple of things here on this Cascading Mentor program that we developed. And the Cascading Mentor program concept is that we want to start very early and plant the seed early with students so that we can get them to the next level. Eventually, we'll get them from high school all the way up through college. And in this particular program, the goal is to get them to become engineers, computer scientists, and construction managers. And then serve as engineers. And as I mentioned, in industry, there's a shortage of diversity in the engineering ranks. Well, if you don't have diversity in the engineering ranks, you're not going to have diversity in the engineering management ranks, because where do engineering managers come from? Engineers, right? They're usually engineers. That's where they promote engineering managers from. So then you have your senior people there, finally the CEOs, and the entrepreneurs. You know, we need more diversity with the smaller engineering and medium-sized engineering companies that are out there. One thing that's not on there is the careers that open up for students that decide to pursue graduate degrees. So are there enough students from diverse backgrounds getting their doctorate degree, especially in the STEM professions? All of us know that the answer is no. So they can go into research, they can become faculty members at community colleges, universities, and so there's a lot of opportunities out there for students in the STEM fields. There's a high demand, and there's the opportunity to get more people to develop and fill those holes that exist out there. So there are 3 current levels in the Mesa Engineering Program, mentor program. We have the freshman mentees, then we have the academic mentors, which are the advanced level students in good academic standing. They kind of know the ropes of how to be a successful engineering student. And then we have the professional mentors. The professional mentors are the engineers. We can add another level here, and that would be the faculty members who could maybe do some group mentoring with students in the same major. So for instance, if we have 20 freshmen that are in mechanical engineering, we can get the department chair to serve as a faculty mentor and do some group mentoring in mechanical engineering. And that would focus on getting these students interested in at least considering going on getting a master's and doctorate degree and becoming a professor or going into research. So we can add that if we want. So these are the roles. The freshman mentee, what does that freshman agree to do? Well, they agree to meet with the academic mentor, that student that's advanced, during the first 2 semesters on a weekly basis. It doesn't have to be that long, 15 minutes. The academic mentor can say, you know, how are you doing in your classes? Do you need any help? You know how to get to the, different student services departments here on campus, and the freshman might say, no, I didn't hear about that. I didn't know about that one. Well, the academic mentor can really provide some really good experience or advice to that student. Then meet with the academic mentor and the professional mentor monthly in the spring and stay in contact over the summer. The professional mentor is not going to come into the picture until the spring, and I'll describe exactly why that is the case. Complete monthly surveys and report potential issues to the MEP counselor. We're not asking the freshman mentee to do much more than this, but we want them to stay active in the program. The academic mentor has a little bit more work, and that is to make sure that the meetings are scheduled on a weekly basis during the fall and spring semesters, those 15-minute meetings. And then later on, that when the professional mentor comes into the picture, then that coordination takes place. The person that is in charge of the logistics is the academic mentor. Secondly, is schedule the monthly meetings with the freshman mentee and the professional mentor when that professional mentor comes into the picture in the spring semester. And then complete monthly surveys and report potential issues to the MEP counselor. The reason why we say report potential issues is because we're not asking the academic mentor to be a counselor. It takes a lot of experience and training to become a counselor. We don't want academic mentors to take on that role. Then the professional mentors. They are in charge of introducing real engineering to the freshman mentee and the academic mentor in the spring semester. Now, how do they do that? Well, they can talk about what they do as an engineer, but they also can invite those 2 students to their workplace and show them around, show them what they do, and then also what other engineers do. So the professional mentor also is in charge of the professional development of the mentees, both the freshman mentee and the academic mentor. They're not there to be a tutor or to help out with homework. Their role is to really introduce them to engineering early on, and then also to get them excited about the prospect of becoming an engineer. So we guide, the professional mentor guides the freshman mentee and the academic mentor for internships. A lot of the professional mentors know where the jobs are, and they also have friends that are engineers that know where the jobs are. So they serve as a valuable resource in referring these students to those jobs. The key is, and we tell the mentees this, both the academic mentor and the freshman mentee, is to make sure that they follow their roles so they make a good impression on the professional mentor, because the professional mentor will bend over backwards to help out those 2 students if they're doing their part. Complete the monthly surveys and report potential issues to the MEP counselor. So again, we're not asking the professionals to serve as counselors. Okay, so we want to get the freshmen off to a really good start. Why is that important? Well, in the STEM-related fields, you've probably heard the statistics. 50% of all students that declare a math or science-related major are no longer in that major after their first science class. They take physics or chemistry and they're gone. The odds are against us. But I think with the mentor program, we can make a difference. The other statistic that to me was alarming is that at many campuses, only 25% of the incoming freshmen that say they want to become engineers get that degree. They don't necessarily all drop out, but they don't become engineers. Okay, so we want to address those issues by 3 factors. Actually, I thought of a 4th factor too. But one of those factors is begin with the end in mind. Can you guys hear me with this? Without this, you hear me? Okay, good. Is that okay if I don't use this?
Well,
I'll use my lungs.
They're videoing.
Oh, they need that. Okay. All right. So begin with the end in mind. That means that we want to plant the seed early for students to start considering what engineers do. And the freshman year is really important. So the freshmen get the chance to see why they're going to take all those tough classes, not just physics and chemistry, but also, you know, all the math classes and then all the upper division coursework in engineering. They get to see what the payoff is. And I'm not talking about just financial payoff. I'm talking about all the rewarding things that engineers do. I have a son that graduated mechanical engineering from this really good university here, and you know, he showed me a YouTube video. He was really excited. He goes, "Hey Dad, check this out. I'm working on this project. It's a rocket that's going up to the International Space Station." He's like a kid in a candy store. So he had that seed planted early, what engineers do. The next thing is providing connectivity. Students coming in, usually, especially when we're talking about students in SASE or the MESA engineering program, they're first in their family, for the most part, to go to college, let alone pursue a technical degree like this. So they need connectivity to other students that are pursuing the same goals and other people that are in support of their goals. And that's why SASE and all the programs are very important, because it gets them connected and it gets them to stay on campus instead of go home. You know, once classes are over with and they come back, they don't see the professors, they just go to class and then they go back home. So we want them to get connected. Occasionally we have students that say, you know, I'm going to switch majors because I don't think this is the right major for me. They sit down and we kind of look at their history, and most often than not, they're getting D's and F's. Oh, if you're going to get a D and F in just about all the classes you take in pre-engineering coursework, you're probably going to say, this is not for me if you're getting D's and F's, right? But if you're getting A's and B's, you might still say, yeah, this is not for me, but you're less likely to say that. Students typically switch majors when they're struggling, because usually it's a message from up above. The reason why they got a D or an F is because they don't belong in that major. And what we want to tell them is, let's figure out how you can be successful first in your classes, and then make a decision whether you want to switch majors. It'll probably be a more informed decision. So getting them off to a good start is very, very important. That's why we have the academic mentors, so that they can meet on a weekly basis with the freshmen and see how they're doing. And we have a lot of students, like I said, in MEP. We've had 50 to 60 freshmen at one time, sometimes up to 80 freshmen. There's no way that an MEP counselor, one MEP counselor, can work with all those freshmen on a regular basis. So those are good grades. And the importance of the power of having good grades right from the start. The other area that Adriana touched upon that's really important, so I've got to put another bullet there, is self-confidence. How many of you have master's or doctorate degrees out there? Okay, all right. For those of you that rose your hands, how many of you believe that you could have gotten a master's or doctorate degree when you first started off as freshmen? Anybody? A couple. How many of you really didn't either have that as a goal or didn't believe it? Okay, just a couple, 2 or 3? All right. Well, I was one that I didn't believe I could get a master's degree. And I don't have a doctorate, but I believe I can get it if I wanted to. As a freshman in high school, all the way through high school, no one ever told me, hey, Jaime, you should consider going on and getting a college degree and maybe a master's degree or a doctorate degree. No one ever mentioned that. I didn't believe I could. And for some reason, other reason, personal reason, I ended up going to college and graduating. But if someone was there to tell me that, hey, Jaime, you don't have to be a rocket scientist, although you're going to have a son that's going to be a rocket scientist someday, to become an engineer. Now, maybe I would have believed them, maybe I wouldn't have believed them, but the point is that mentors can be very powerful. They can be very empowering by telling people that they can achieve their goals and telling them early on. We tell all students in engineering and computer science that they can become an engineer. They don't have to be an Albert Einstein. They can become an engineer. Not only do they need to, of course, work hard, everybody knows that, and they need to STEM fields, but work in the right ways and work with other students that will help you in the right ways. So the other reason for this mentoring program is to help the MEP staff. Offering another layer of monitoring the progress of freshmen, I touched upon that, and engaging alumni and other engineers with minimal cost. It doesn't cost hardly anything to call together the alumni. We have about 800 to 1,000 alumni that we kept track with that are out there that can serve as professional mentors to our freshman mentee and the academic mentors. And they've been very, very generous with their time. This brings me to the other point. Why do we bring the professional mentors into the picture in the spring semester and not the fall semester? And that is because some of the freshmen just are not mentor ready, or I should say mentee ready. They haven't decided that they really want to commit to engineering and all the things that it requires. So what we do is we kind of take a look at the end of the fall semester, which students went to the MEP freshman workshop every single Friday from 2 to 4. So we don't schedule it on purpose just to make it difficult for students from 2 to 4 on Fridays, because I know that they like to be doing other things. But we do it because that's when it doesn't conflict with their class schedules typically. So we see who shows up to the MEP workshop, who does their assignments, and who's meeting on a regular basis with academic mentors. So those freshmen that cover all those areas get assigned a professional mentor. We don't want to assign a professional mentor right at the beginning of the fall semester like we did before. This is kind of an evolutionary process because we learned by some errors that we did, and that was one of them. Because if the freshman is not mentee ready, then they're not going to show up with a professional mentor. And the professional mentors have 40-plus hour jobs per week, and they have families and other responsibilities. And so we don't want to pull them out and say, here's 2 students that you can mentor, and then 1 or 2 of them don't show up to the meetings. So that's why we have the professional mentors in the picture in the spring semester. And then offering a tangible program for proposals. If we say we've got this program and it has a lot of evidence that it does make a difference, then we can get some funding for that program. Okay, so and this is part of the evidence. We started the first cohort of MEP mentors or mentees in the fall of 2011. We have a 96% retention rate among that cohort. And like I said, 50% of all students who declare a math or science related major across this country are no longer in that major after their first science class. Now, is all this be attributed to the mentor program? Absolutely not. But we believe that the mentor program plays a very important role in that retention rate. The cumulative college GPA rates are pretty good. It's statistically significant in a couple of areas there. So we believe that the mentor program is working. So let's talk about some other benefits. What do the freshmen get out of this? An opportunity for successful first year in engineering, potential internships, and professional development. We'll cover the professional development in just a second. Academic mentor. So the academic mentor, again, they can be set up with internships, and maybe if they're an academic mentor that's a junior or senior, maybe a regular full-time engineering position after that. They also get MEP community service credit. So our MEP students are required to do a little bit of community service every single semester. What does the professional mentor get out of this? Well, they like to make a difference in someone's life, and this is a great way to make that difference. We've had many instances where a professional mentor comes to us and says, you know, this student is struggling, and for whatever reason, and it's usually not because they're not capable of doing good in their classes, it's because life gets in the way. It's usually something else that's going on. And with all those professional mentors out there serving as our ears and our eyes, they come up with certain things that we cannot see or hear of. And so it really makes a difference in terms of having these professional mentors on board. So how does this program work? Well, the first step is during the winter break, the MEP staff forms an MEP mentor program management team. And the management teams that we've had are really good. They're usually people out in industry that have lots of experience in engineering and love to be part of MEP and helping students. So we get together, and then during the spring semester, the MEP staff recruits the academic mentors. So we want to make sure that when the freshmen come in the fall, that they already have an academic mentor assigned to them as soon as possible so that they can start helping that freshman mentee right away. And then before the fall semester begins, the MEP staff matches academic mentors with the incoming freshmen by major and gender. So we were talking about matching processes. We believe that those are two important factors to consider in the matching process. And it's not easy to do the matching. We had a counselor that worked with us for 24 years, knew a lot of the freshmen before they arrived here on campus because she did a lot of outreach and everything like that. And she knew our alumni. And so, and then she also knows a lot of our students, so she did the matching, and it was tough to do that matching process. But even though it's challenging and time-consuming, she did a very good job at it. So then, at the beginning of the fall semester, the academic mentors are invited to the freshman workshop or the new MEP student workshop, and then they get to meet each other, and we talk about roles and responsibilities, do some training, and then they begin their weekly meetings. And then during the fall semester, MEP staff starts recruiting those professional mentors. And again, we draw upon the alumni that are out there. We have a huge pool of alumni that are out there. And so we call upon them. At the end of the fall semester, the MEP staff matches the professional mentors with the freshman mentee and the academic mentor. So they're teams of 3. And then at the beginning of the semester, MEP hosts a kickoff for the rest of that spring semester and the summer. So this mentoring continues on over the summer. If students are from some other town and they go back home for the summer, then the mentoring can be virtual, using the technology that we have these days. So the training is also conducted for the professionals, and then we have those teams of 3 that meet throughout the spring semester, and the professional development starts taking hold in those meetings with the teams of 3, led by the professional mentor. And this is kind of a graphic that covers the topics that our professional mentors cover. And I don't know if you can't see it back there. The color scheme is not that good. I have another one that looks better. Sorry about that. But what we are focusing in on is not just getting the students to do well and graduate in engineering and computer science, but also how to get them into corporate America being very successful as engineers and eventually engineering managers if they decide to go that route. Again, entrepreneurs in high-tech startups, perhaps becoming faculty members with those advanced degrees and going into research. But we took a look at all of these different competencies, and the bullseye is very, very important. I'm glad you can see that one, I think. And it's important because if you take a look at what companies are looking for in college graduates, what single competency do you believe at an 80% rate that companies across this country, according to the National Association of College Employers, are looking for in college graduates? Any takers? If you're involved with, affiliated with MEP, you're ineligible to answer this question because you already know the answer. Okay, what's the number one competency that companies are looking for in college graduates? What's that? Working with others. Okay, good. That's a good one. That's up there. Passion. Okay. Ethics. That's up there. What's that? Integrity. Really good one. I like that one. Okay, I don't think now, all right. So now those people that are in MEP, affiliated with MEP, what's the number one that they're looking for? 80% rate. It's important, right? Because if you want to, for those of you that are students, if you want to get your degree, and you will, 80% of the employers that are looking for people that are graduating from college are going to be looking for this one skill set. What is it? Nope. Good try, though. Okay, yes, go ahead. Leadership. He's affiliated with MEP. Leadership is extremely important. 80% of employers are looking for this skill. So then the next question is, how do I develop my leadership skills, even if I don't want to become a leader? Well, one thing to do is study the great leaders. So it doesn't matter if it's Lincoln, Gandhi, King, any of those that you would put in that category of great leaders. They all share certain things in common. You just have to read about them, and you'll see that there's those commonalities. And that would be passion, compassion. Adriana mentioned empathy. That's right there. Metacognition, being aware of your own self-talk. I always mention this, that, raise the hands if you hear voices. You hear voices? Anybody? There you go, somebody. I hear voices too. They're my own voice. And my own voice is telling me to do something that perhaps I shouldn't do, or to not do something that I perhaps should do. And I talk myself out of these things, or into these things. So we constantly are bombarded with our own voices. Metacognition is really important because if you're aware of that, oftentimes your ego is getting in the way of making good decisions. Well, a lot of these great leaders, to a great extent, are egoless. They make decisions for the best interest of the people that they're leading, not just themselves. And so somebody mentioned integrity, ethics was mentioned too. They're right in there too. Very, very important. And so this is not only important for leaders, but also for all professionals, for everybody. So if we can work on some of these things, and it's not easy to work on some of these things, I know because I tried it, then the next concentric ring is analytical problem solving, work ethic, communication, teamwork. When I see, employers, what are they looking for? Well, oftentimes the employers are looking for good communication skills, both verbally and in writing. They're looking for good team players. Someone mentioned that, working with others. And then some of them are looking for tolerance of ambiguity. What does that mean? Especially the higher up you go in a profession, the more tolerance of ambiguity you need to have. Right? So I interact daily with with our custodian, everybody is equally important. And the custodian already knows what he needs to do every day. It's all written out, for the most part. Is everything written out what Obama needs to do? Does he have like a recipe of what he needs to do to be successful in making decisions that he needs to make? Of course not. So there needs to be a higher tolerance of ambiguity for that position. And so engineers, professionals need to have a higher tolerance of ambiguity. One of the things that we noticed, what makes a student successful, I know this probably has pointers, so is coachability. And not only is that factor important as a student, but also as a professional out there. Because if you're coachable, and you have a good mentor, by the way, or a good manager and supervisor, then you're probably going to progress a lot quicker, and you're going to be able to make a better contribution to the organization and the people that you're serving. So, initiative, responsibility, positive attitude, huge. Positive attitude is incredibly important. And a lot of people think, well, you know, and I think that's probably true for the most part. It's easy to have a good attitude when things are nice and smooth, right? But when things are rocky, it's a lot more difficult to have a positive attitude. There was a story that I read about Nelson Mandela. And he said that he was on a plane going from South Africa to another country. I can't remember what it was. It was a prop plane, so it had 2 or 3, maybe 4 propellers on it. And one of the engines shut off. And so everybody started panicking on the plane. Everyone. What did Nelson Mandela do? Pulled out the newspaper and started reading calmly. That calmed everybody else in the cabin down. Obviously, they landed safely. But he had not only a positive attitude in a sense. I mean, he wasn't saying, "Yay, we're going to crash." But, you know, he had the right attitude when it really needed it, when the circumstances warranted that. He also showed a lot of, what else here? There's courage is in there someplace. There it is, down here. Courage. And I'll tell you why we have the outer ring there, because that's where leadership, in addition to the inner rings, leadership, when we talk about that, is often talked in the outer ring circle. But we neglect that to build good leadership skills, you need a good core. And that's what those inner rings represent. So someone asked Nelson afterwards, they go, "Were you scared? You didn't seem afraid." He said, "Absolutely, I was terrified." But he didn't show it because he wanted to make a good decision in the best interest of the people that he was with. So anyway, the other thing, going out to the kind of a bluish circle over here, ring, is we believe that our students, when they graduate as MEP students, they need to be well-rounded. They don't just need to know about engineering. They need to be well-rounded in environmental issues, which is very related to engineering, about the physiological issues on how to make a better contribution as an employee. How many of you work out on a regular basis? Okay, about half of you. All right. How many of you work out very often? Okay, fewer. Then the rest of you don't work out at all, right? Okay, well, you'll find out that when you get to my age, working out is really important because then, you know, other things start coming into play, your age, and it's hard to get out of bed sometimes and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, to be well-rounded, you've got to take care of yourself. We tell students to take golf classes. Take a golf class. Why do we tell them that? There we go. There's a MEP student here. Take golf because I can't tell you how many times I was invited to go out there and golf. And in that experience, I can establish stronger bonds with people and, you know, start developing my network better. But I had to turn people down right and left because I don't know how to golf. Now, maybe I can still pick it up now, but I don't get any invitations anymore for golf. They probably say, "Oh, Jaime, you're too old now," even for golf. But it's true. You know, take golf not only just for physiological reasons, but also for networking reasons, the sociological area there. Philosophy is very, very important. You take a look at the philosophers, you'll find out a lot of information that will help you become well-rounded. By the way, I took a look at each of these areas in the kind of the bluish purple area, and the courses that are offered here at this university that relate to the workplace. And a whole list of courses were offered in each of these areas that relate to the workplace. Now, can STEM majors take all these courses? Absolutely not. They're busy enough with the courses that they have to take. But at least be aware of them, do a little bit of outside reading in some of these areas. So you kind of get the point of being well-rounded. Then we go to the outer concentric circle in terms of styles and strategies. That's where most of the discussion on leadership leads, is styles and strategies. That's just a piece of the pie, a small piece of the pie. There's other things that are involved that are very, very important in leadership. Okay, so that's the professional development model. So the professionals in this mentoring program focus in on that. That's what they focus in on. They don't do the tutoring and all that kind of stuff. The academic mentoring provides that, and the academic mentoring also refers the students to our tutoring program, which is sponsored by the FSMP program. So after the spring semester, the mentor teams continue to keep in contact until the end of the summer. And then a recognition event is held after the mentor program has ended. We're going to have a recognition event on September 23rd, recognizing all of the professional mentors and the academic mentors. So we are going to have dinner for them. We're going to have the dean welcome them. And we're going to have a special guest speaker that is outstanding in professional development. All of you are invited, by the way. Okay? That's going to be here at the University of Union, September 23rd, 7 to 8:30 p.m. Right? No charge. So that's the presentation, but I want to share with you just a few other things because I have about 5 minutes left. Yes. Yeah, let me explain that a little bit. Enid was supposed to kind of co-present with me, and she was not available today. At the last minute, she had to take care of something urgent. So, yeah.
It was mentoring.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm using some of her time. Okay. So let me just kind of explain some of these other things that we have in the kickoff. Here's kind of a sample of what we want to do in the kickoff when we begin. You know, the professional mentors and the academic mentors and the freshman mentees meet for the first time. And then, you know, we talk about what mentoring is, why mentor, the types of mentoring. Cascading program is just one type. The difference between coaching and mentoring. Going through this pretty quickly, just so that you're aware of some of the training that we provide and some of the tools that we use. I like this particular definition of mentoring by Eric Parslow, the Oxford School of Coaching and Mentoring. And then why mentor? You can fill in your own blanks there. We have cascading, group mentoring program, and formal mentoring. What do mentors do? And the do's and don'ts of mentoring. This is part of the training program. So. And then the toolkit. So we have an agreement because there are 3 parties involved, and they all need to agree to do certain things to be in the mentoring program. And then we begin with goals and expected outcomes. And then, you know, a way to keep track of how they're doing, a little journal there. And then when they first meet, they need something to talk about. Sometimes mentors and mentees, when they get this training and everything, they don't know what to say. So this helps them break the ice. And then some tips on mentoring. Some more tips. You know, the early stages, what to expect in the mentoring phases, the midpoint, and the end of the relationship. Kind of checklist in each of those phases. And then, of course, goal sharing, what's important, the expectations up front, and that's it. Okay, so that's all I have. I hope I didn't run over. Okay?
Really?
Okay. Good.